is the Conservative Colonel Podcast with Harrison Dawes, where one man stands against the rising tide of liberalism. This officer in the battle to preserve our nation is the Conservative Colonel.
Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue.
And here's Harrison Dawes.
How y'all doing? We're back with the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Dawes. And before we get started, we do have a guest. He was able to make it. He got caught up with work last week, as I said. And so we're happy to have him on, Graves Baker. For those who do not know or don't follow us on Facebook, which you should, let me get my nice little script out here. He wrote me something nice to say about him. I think he was scared of what I was going to say. Graves is well, that's fair. Graves is a Republican consultant and ground game coordinator. For 3 years, he's been either a consultant, campaign manager, or coordinator for campaigns at every level of office. He has won multiple campaigns and has worked in 10 different states, and he'll be working for the Trump campaign in 2024. We're happy to have him. We're going to be talking about a bit more of all the federal side of things today. I do think on one of our topics, we are going to just see how crazy that one gets. We talked about it a bit before the show, and we started getting so fired up, we decided just to start the show because it's something that definitely needs to be talked about, and definitely these people need to be called out on. Real quick, before we kind of get into our topic, I will remind everybody that it looks like there are some runoff campaigns or runoff elections happening in a couple states here in the great state of Mississippi. It did not determine the winner. Grenada, Hines, Montgomery, Pontotoc, Sunflower, Tate, Starkey, and Caledonia. I know I butchered that one. We're just going to keep reading like I didn't. Those counties will have a runoff election. So if you are in these counties, please research who you are going to be voting for. Make sure you take the time to vote during those runoffs. Make sure you vote for the right candidate.
And you said that those are school board elections?
Most of them are, yeah. So let me pull. Yeah, so we got school board. Hines has an election commissioner, school board. Pontotoc has election commissioner, and the rest of them are school boards. And we all know
school boards definitely need to research on that with everything going on, that you see across the country with schools and stuff. That's really important to have the right people in there.
Definitely. So make sure you research your candidate. Again, the education of the next generation, I cannot stress how important that is. And as Graves has said, just in the country today. I mean, we've seen what bad education has done to the future generations, and we see what they try to put into our schools, and it's just disgusting, saddening, and mind-blowing.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring Graves on another day to talk about that. I feel like we could go down any rabbit hole we choose here.
Pretty much.
Me and him both love politics, so it gets dangerous when you bring us in the same room together.
Yeah,
But
we were both in TPUSA at Ole Miss at the same time.
yes,
Too, so.
yes. That was a great time.
Yeah.
Gosh, I miss those days. It was so much easier.
Will Witt come that time, and that was he's a good guy.
That was a phenomenal event, and I will say that I got involved in just two organizations, or really three organizations during my time at Ole Miss, and I was very happy to get Will Witt to come to Ole Miss. We had no idea if we were going to pull that off, and I brag. I'm going to do a humble brag, so don't compare me to a Democrat here, but I remember when I got elected as vice president for that year, and I was like, that's my only goal, to make sure this event happens.
Yeah.
I told everybody, because which has become a running gag in my life. I was like, I don't want to do it, but if y'all elect me, and then all of a sudden I saw hands go up, and I was like,
yeah,
why? Like, y'all have so many other people. Y'all could have voted for any of them.
Yeah.
And then there I was. But that was a very proud achievement of mine. And, of course, I like to give credit where credit is due. Our president at the time, Jody, did a phenomenal job with that.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And she was the definition of a workaholic when it came to politics.
Mm-hmm.
She tackled everything, and God bless her. Did rarely miss
the nation and do some Republican Women's Summit thing, and then she'd come right back, and just
like she never missed a beat either.
Yeah,
she was impressive. I haven't kept up with her like I've kept up with you. You are
right.
He's in my fantasy league, and he is just tearing me up. Graves is. I think I've lost every time I've played him.
I got upset this week though, so now I'm not in first. I'm tied for first now.
Fine.
You have a chance.
I'm in fifth. I started fantasy football, and again, I knew this was going to happen. We were going to go down some rabbit hole. It might as well be fantasy football.
Right.
Because I couldn't stand the politics that had entered into the NFL, and I couldn't really watch it. You watch sports to get away from stuff. I eat, sleep, and breathe politics. I love staying involved, and I love trying to change my state and my country for the better. But sometimes you need a break. And when I'm turning on a football game, that's what I want. And so I made that fantasy league for the sole purpose of being able to enjoy pro football again.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it. I've made my own team, the Mississippi Avengers. That is my fantasy pro Mississippi football team. If it ever happens and their name are the Avengers, you heard it here first. November 27th, 2023.
I think we're getting a semi-pro type football team or something from some team that's playing in either Georgia or Alabama right now. Is supposed to move, I guess, to Jackson.
I'll take it.
I don't even know the name of them.
I'll take it. I tell people I'm a very pro Mississippi guy, so it hurts my soul that my two favorite sports, my number one is going to be always basketball, and then it's football, and then baseball. It hurts my soul for basketball and football. I have no pro teams to choose from. But at the same time, I guess I'm a little grateful because they would be turned into something unrecognizable right now by cancel culture and just the left in general. So I guess I'm happy that I didn't have what I had with Ole Miss, where I still love Ole Miss, but some of the leftist propaganda they push, it hurts my soul every day. And it's why I'm wearing a Liberty shirt. I blame them.
I saw that University of Liberty went 12-0 this year.
We're strong. Yeah. No. I hate to say it. Some of my Liberty people are going to hate me for saying it. I was worried to death. So I started attending Liberty around the time Hugh Freeze was there, and I knew him from Ole Miss, and I was a big Hugh Freeze guy. And the thing about Liberty, it's a Christian conservative college. So I was like, yes, nothing should piss me off too bad here. Yes. And then he went to Auburn, and I never cheered harder for Alabama than on the Iron Bowl this weekend, which is shocking because so much of my family are Auburn and Alabama fans. I'm usually on the Auburn side. Yeah. And I was like, no, get crushed.
Can't be Hugh Freeze.
No, Hugh Freeze has talent. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He put up a game. That was a heck of a game if you guys got to see it.
That was probably, in my opinion, the best game all year.
Oh, without a doubt. I'll agree with you on that. It was phenomenal. Now that we've talked about football on my political show, let's go into some of our topics we picked out. Yeah. I kind of want to start first with the election security topic you want to talk about, and we can move into our later topic because I feel like that one's going to be the meat of the episode. There's so many ways that one can turn. So let's hear your opinion on some of the, of course, election fraud that has happened, election security, and maybe some of your opinions on what we could do to improve.
So I think one of the big things you see is like in Pennsylvania, which has always been a really shady election state. But even the people there are starting to wake up to it because, like, twice in a row they've had these big pauses where the machines won't count or they're flipping votes and literally admitting that the machines are flipping votes. So I think the leftists in that state are starting to wake up to maybe we need to get rid of these machines or maybe we need to get rid of the people in charge of the election. But it all comes down to, are people going to keep the same narrative they did like 2016, Trump's an illegitimate president, 2020? You're not allowed to question it. It's the most secure election in history. But yet you have all these court cases where you're seeing people pulling out ballots from under tables. And, I even signed an affidavit. So if I was lying about what I saw in Georgia where they would not let me in to actually poll watch, I would have gone to jail if I was lying, but the court didn't take it up.
See, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that this happened to you, and you're a actual witness to fraud.
Yeah.
And Georgia's one of the states where, I love Georgia to death. I love my my fellow Southern states. I feel like we have at least some of our head on straight. But it hurts me to see that places like Georgia are getting flipped like Virginia did. Yeah. It might have been Virginia. I might be getting Georgia and Virginia confused, but one of them flipped recently.
Virginia had flipped their governorship to red, but then this year they took control of the legislature, the Democrats. So the Republicans were hoping that with the new governor we get, a bigger state legislature of Republicans, but just flipped it back. So
yeah. It sadly is what it is, but I think it's crazy that this has happened on such a wide national scale, and I believe it's funny because I think in 2016. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm more than happy to be proven wrong. I think in 2016, I think Hillary for a bit pointed at election fraud for the reason why she lost against Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure
she said it all the way through 2020.
Yeah. When 2020 hit, all of a sudden that changed.
Yeah.
And I think they did it against George Bush.
They did. They actually did a recount in the state of Florida, thinking that Al Gore had beat him there, but then it ended up Bush actually beat him worse than the original count. So they always challenge elections, but when we do it, it's we're gonna get put in jail or kicked off of Twitter. So,
or we're spreading false information.
Yeah.
That bull crap. They've anybody that talks about it, and I'll probably get flagged on YouTube. For those who don't know, Conservative Colonel Podcast is live. We go live on Tuesdays, and we prefer you to support us on Spreaker, but we're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music and Audible, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Pod, and Pod Chaser. But on Thursdays, I have a video version that we upload to YouTube. And I mean, we talked about a couple of people we listen to on YouTube, and they've been nearly kicked off of the platform for speaking on election fraud, and it's so shocking that they have attacked us this hard on something that they know is a possibility. We need to strengthen our election system, because I don't care which party wins, the people deserve to know that they at least won it fairly. Yeah. There's nothing worse than losing and being like, oh, something's sketchy here. Nothing worse in the world. And so it blows my mind that Democrats are against it and say we're either, which I find this racist in itself. They say that we're being racist, requiring people to have IDs.
Yeah.
And I remember Will Witt, we were talking about him just a second ago, did an interview, and they were talking about how African Americans, couldn't possibly, find a place to get a driver's license or a state issued ID. And he went to all these just white people and they were agreeing with it. And then he went and found some African Americans, and they could give you the precise location of where the state IDs off. I'm going on a brain fart on the actual official name, but they knew where to get their license. They knew where to get the state IDs. And it's just racist in itself to think that African Americans could not figure out where it is in today's day and age. Nevertheless, where you could just Google something, you could ask someone on the street to Google something. You can find information almost everywhere. You can go to a library. They usually have computers. Search that. It blows my mind that some people think that a certain race couldn't do that, and that in itself is racist.
Yeah,
You're telling
they don't
these
even
people,
see it. They're blind to it.
They're blind. I've never in my life heard it. They'll look someone dead in the eye.
Yeah. And,
well,
like what Joe Biden said, they don't even realize how racist they sound. When Joe was running for president, and he was like, what, black kids are just as smart and bright as, or poor kids are just as smart and bright as white kids. And it's like, who are the
poor kids, Joe?
Like,
who are the poor kids?
And he was friends with Robert Byrd, so, just, they've always been that way, and they always focus on race, and we're just like, stop, just be a normal person.
Take race out of it. Yeah. Leave us alone. Take race out of it. Let's focus on what people can bring to the table. Let the best person win, no matter who they are, no matter what their race is, their religion, their gender. That's how we're supposed to be. And it blows my mind. And then people telling me that Joe, I had someone tell me, well, Joe's not as, and here's another false thing. Well, Joe is not as racist as Trump. Trump's not racist. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. It's so stupid to believe that. Just go look at Trump's history. Actually look at it.
When Al Sharpton gave him the NAACP award back in the 80s or 90s. Yeah, he's definitely a racist. He went there so he could stare at all of them with hate and accept the award. And then you have probably Joe. What they say. Yeah. And then you have Joe, who I am not even going to repeat what Joe has said. You can't. No. I mean, there's a video of like 15 minutes of him from the 70s up until now of all the things he said, and that video gets kicked offline every time it surfaces again. It does. And the funny thing is, he said racist stuff about President Obama while they were running, while they were seeking re-election. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, if I was Obama, I would be like, could y'all get me anybody else other than Joe to run with me? I mean, I couldn't believe that he even chose Joe Biden in the first place, because, I mean, the guy had always been a loser, and let's be honest, he never had a stutter. If it was there, it was before he even got into office. So, like in the 70s. So, that's just his mind. Please note, by the 70s, there was a time where my father was born in the late 70s.
Years passed. I was born in the 90s. Years passed. And this man is still in office.
Yeah.
I talked about this last week, and I kind of want to bring you on to talk about it again later, but age and politics. Yeah. And it's so just crazy how people will stay in office for 50 years. Yeah. And you have me that's like, 15 to 20. I think we should be, it's time to move on. Either go to the House. Limit. Yeah, term limits. Either go to the House, or if you're in the House, go in the Senate. Voila, look at that. Yeah. You just won a re-election. You just beat an incumbent. You've earned a couple more terms. But when you term out again, you either move up the food chain, move down the food chain, get out of office. You still can have career politicians, which I hate. I want us to go back to the statesman approach, where you served your country, your state, and you left because you weren't getting paid at all. Yeah. Now people get paid so well, they're like, I think I'll stay here for 50
Washington
years.
Type.
Yeah, George Washington went broke 3 times because as soon as he got out of being a general, he got his farm set up. Then he was asked to be president. As soon as he got out of being president, he went back to his farm, and the country was like, so, you want to be our general? This poor man couldn't retire, and I don't think he knew the understanding of it. And that's a good example. George Washington spent the later part of his life in public service. He was on the House of Representatives, the version of it before the government. He served on the House of Burgesses in Virginia, which is basically their House of Representatives, in my opinion. Or last time I checked, I might be fuzzy. It's been a while. He served as a military officer. He served as president. He served as chairman of the Constitutional Committee that made the Constitution of the United States of America. Yeah. He served so much for so many years in so many different positions, but he had to be elected, appointed, and prove that he could serve in those positions. And that's all I ask. You can still make a career out of yourself if you dare, but it better be at least harder. Because I haven't touched on it yet, but incumbents. Hardest person to beat in politics is an incumbent.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
but
especially locally, which is, I'm surprised when we got our mayor here in Batesville that ran his campaign, Hal Farrell. We were going up against a 12-year incumbent who actually took my great uncle out of office. So I kind of had a personal vendetta there, and we beat him by 20 points. So that was probably the highlight. I've been on bigger campaigns, but that one to me is probably my favorite one. So
that's a nice story right there. I'd love to hear about it sometime. We'll have to. Again, I'm going to just keep bringing you on at this point.
Well, I do want to finish off on the
Get back to
security was, and I kind of touched on it. I want to get all paper ballots, but then, it's like, well, it takes so much longer for people to hand count. Yes, and then how do you know that they're still not going to miscount it on purpose and stuff? Having someone actually sit there and watching the whole thing, they could still be on the same side and do something sketchy. So it's like, I don't really have an answer. I'm not running for president, so I'd look into it farther if I was. But, we need to get rid of the machines. Nancy Pelosi in 2002 actually stood up on the House floor and was saying that the Dominion machines can get hacked and they could be, connected to without Wi-Fi even from other countries. It's kind of a problem.
I'm just loving that came from Nancy.
Yeah, like that. It's rich.
Yep. I mean, there's something we can do. And I mean, no system is ever going to be perfect, and people need to realize that. But there needs to be something better than what we have.
Yeah, I mean,
actually having a reason to have an absentee ballot. I told you beforehand, my grandfather is handicapped. He can't get out. He's susceptible to diseases, and it's just hard for him to get out.
Yeah.
I think he earned that right to have an absentee vote and still remain voting. But, some people that are just like, well, it's cold. Only I'm going to go out. or it's raining. I mean, you talked about that because I know one of my friends looked at me. Yeah, I didn't vote. Why? It was raining. Huh? I voted absentee one time. It was when I first moved to Oxford for Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Hated it. Absolutely hated it. When I got it, I signed it. I turned it in, and I was just so nervous that my vote wasn't going to get counted that I drove home for every election after that. I would tell my professors, hey, I'm having to drive home to vote. I lived 4 hours from Oxford,
Right.
and I would drive home, get a good lunch, and drive back. That's all I came
Same
down
day?
for was to vote. Yep.
Uh,
And I mean that was because I didn't trust the absentee ballot system. And that was back in 2018, 20. When was the last governor election? 2019. That was the last time I voted absentee because I hated it.
Yeah.
And so
I don't blame you.
I never did it afterwards. And again, if you are in the hospital bed, you've gotten it. You're good. If you are elderly, you got it. Now, I do like the idea of maybe driving to the voting station and you have someone witness that you, under your free will, are voting for this.
Yeah.
I like that. But, I don't have the answers either. Me and you both don't have it. But me and you both can look at the system we have right now and be like, well, this ain't it, Chief.
Yeah.
This is awful.
It is.
I just cannot believe that some people will sit there. The same people that said, 2018, 16 when Trump won, there was fraud. That's the only way he could beat Hillary. He got Russia involved, and then all of a sudden, Putin got involved in our election.
And it's just, but the 2020 election, a guy who literally has said, well, to Ukraine, you're not getting $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor looking into my son. That guy didn't cheat for $81 million, the most ever. I mean, there's obviously things. I don't think people put things together though. On the majority of the country, they're not piecing things together at all.
When it definitely comes closer to election, I want to spend time on that certain subject that we just threw out here, because he has an election coming up, and I love dissecting. I tell people all the time, the Right Side Radio and Chris McDaniel kind of pushed me to this, and the Right Side Radio, we're all conservatives here, and it says it in their name. They're the Right Side Radio. I think you can tell where their leaning is. They did a whole piece on a whole episode on telling everybody what Tate Reeves did wrong and what he needs to do to improve as a governor and as a conservative, and even things to promise to win the next election. I like doing that, and I would do it for both sides. And I feel like when a certain presidential election comes on, me and you might have to come back on here and take apart our current president. God bless him. He doesn't know where he's at.
No, I haven't seen any of the videos from him up in, like, I don't know where he's at, Nantucket or something, and he's like walking around like a deer in the headlights. Like, it's like, I'm not even kidding when I say this. It kind of sounds bad saying it, but like, it literally reminds me of my granddad when he got Alzheimer's. Like, he would just.
I tell people all the time, I don't hate Joe Biden. I hate the people who are controlling him because it's elder abuse at this point.
Yeah.
Joe hasn't known where he has been since he got out of vice president, I think. During that time and the time he ran for president in 2020, his health just went downhill. And now, if you want to talk about who Joe Biden was as vice president, as a senator, I didn't like him either. He was a racist, and he did absolutely nothing with his position. Instead, make himself a lot of money. But again, right now I'll look at him. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is elder abuse. If this was my grandfather, if this was my father, my significant other, my wife, I'd be sitting there like, it's done. He's not running again. We shouldn't have done this in the first place. we can all look at him and tell that he's just an old man that should be at home with his wife, his kids, his grandkids, possibly great grandkids, his dog. I mean, if I'm at that age and I'm starting to tweedle off, so to speak, I would want to be with my family as much as possible and enjoy the time I have left where I can actually look at them and be like, oh, hey there, Junior. It hurts me because, again, I don't hate who Joe is right now because I don't think Joe knows who he is right now. He's just an old man who had name value that the Democrats put up to bat. And they cheated, they lied, and stole to make sure he was won office. And you can just
hit him
tell.
in the basement the whole campaign.
The whole campaign. And this campaign, I don't know if he's even done anything yet. I don't think he will.
I can't remember any.
I mean, every time they brought him out to speak as the president of the United States of America, you could just tell no one was home. He would have note cards. And I mean, these note cards weren't just like, hey, remember to talk about this, remember to talk about that. I do that method. I will write subject points, which I probably should do for the show at some point. Write subject points. But those are like, you will go in. People will stand and clap. You will ask everybody to be seated. And I'm like,
yeah. It's like, you will take your seat next to whoever. You will give a 5-minute speech.
It's awful. I feel so bad for him. I don't like who he was before he got whatever he has right now.
Yeah.
But it hurts my heart as a American, as a Christian, to see anybody like that. Even someone I disagree with a bunch and profited off the country, which you shouldn't. It hurts me just seeing someone else like that. And it's so sad. And again, if we don't address these election concerns, we could very well have an 86-year-old president as he goes out of office.
And I don't think there's any way that he would make it through a second term alive. Like, I don't even mean just mentally. I mean alive. Like,
now, we're not even suggesting shady stuff at this point.
No,
I mean,
he's shaking hands with no one there. He can barely walk. I mean, it's just, you look at it and you can tell it's not like what they say about Trump when they were doing videos of whoever that famous person is, where she like shoots Trump in the head or something, and like the fake video for a music video or something, like Kathy Griffin. That's who it was.
Yeah, she cut off his head.
Yeah, we don't do any of that stuff. They just,
we just point out facts, like the fact that Joe tried to handshake no one, fell down the stairs of Air Force One, or fell up them, actually.
Yeah, which is hard to do.
That was impressive. And then tripped on a bike. I think he gave the Secret Service the biggest scare they've had in the past decade.
Yeah, probably.
It's just not
at the Air Force or Navy graduation.
I forgot about that. It's just past time. Let the man rest, please. Yeah. And then, the sad thing is, it's like he does have more common sense than our vice president, and there's nothing wrong with her.
That's scary.
That's even scarier.
I thought Joe was the worst vice president pick of all time, but it's her.
She has won that.
Yeah.
By a long shot. And we've had some pure idiots serve in that position.
Yeah.
And to say that you might take the cake is like, oh, wow.
Yeah. And, whatever it is about her buses, she loves her buses. Don't you just love this bus? I used to ride a yellow school bus.
Let's let convicted felons vote in our elections. Let's let murderers vote in our elections. They
definitely get the votes from those people.
Oh yeah, that's what they want. They want the vote. That's what I'm sitting there like, is anybody not? Am I the only one that I see that these people just want the vote so bad that they'll give it to anybody? Mm-hmm. She was asked if a terrorist that bombed our country. And I apologize. I can't remember the exact terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like, does this person deserve to vote? Our vice president without missing a beat. Yes. He killed so many Americans. This was like a pure hatred attack.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. And again, we've had some doozies run for office and be awful. Some real bad ones. And they take the cake by a long shot, sadly. But we need to do something. Me and you don't have the answer, but we can prove that it's happened. And I mean, maybe next time me and you come on, we can have a list. I know someone had like a whole list of evidence of election fraud.
Yeah.
And today we were kind of just shooting the breeze a bit more, kind of finding our groove together as a guest and host. But
as y'all can tell, we can turn one topic into about 5 different things that link it all together. So
it's a talent. It really is. Well, I'm tempted to redo my rambling episode title and put it on here and be like, "Yep, well, we took the cake."
Yeah.
Yeah, we ran with whatever we gave ourselves, but it's more me than you, so don't. I'm a rambler. But I would love to sit down and talk about all the cases that's happened. Like again, you've seen it. That's what blows my mind. It's like I've heard of people that have seen it, but I've never come in contact with them and talked about it.
Yeah.
Whew.
I mean, it was weird. They wouldn't even let me in the building, and it's like I literally have the stamp of approval from the Secretary of State right here saying you have to let me in. And she turns around and she's like, "Should we let him in?" And the guy was like, "No." And so they locked the door. And I was like, well, where are even all the voters? Like, polls have been closed for 5 minutes. I'm supposed to watch y'all, tally it all up. How the heck are y'all done 5 minutes after 7? Which is weird to me. So I didn't get to go in. I did follow their card to the election building where they turned it in. And who knows? The totals were probably fake. So.
Oh, I think you're being generous with the probably added.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's such a shame that happens in this country.
Yeah. I mean, my 92-year-old grandmother said she's never seen anything like what's going on right now, and she actually said Trump was the best president of her lifetime, which that's kind of saying a lot. Being 90 years old, but she was also in politics. Like, I kind of grew up around it. My granddad was a lawyer, but he also served in the state senate and the state house for 12 years. So I was always around all that.
That's awesome. My great grandfather was involved in politics, and it's so funny. He told the whole family, "Stay away." Do not get involved in that.
Yeah.
But
it sounds about like my grandmother, but here I am.
Yeah, here me and you both are. I guess it's just in our blood. We can't stick back and let people ruin something you love.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else you want to add on election security?
Not really, because I don't have an answer for it. I just kind of threw out an idea, just going back to paper ballots is about all I got right now.
Well, we talked about it for about 40 minutes, so I think we did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, the other topic that we had was
well, I'm looking forward to this. The Republican National Committee.
That's right.
And we're about to have a great time with this.
I've probably got about 20 minutes.
Oh, we're probably going to use a good bit of that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's dive into it. So, what do you want to talk about first? Because there's so much we could talk about.
I kind of want to start with Ronna McDaniel. Uh, and just how horrible she's been, and she deflects everything. None of it's her fault.
No.
And that really shows the state of the Republican Party without Trump. If Trump wasn't in it, I mean, when would we win another election? When?
That's a great question. Because me and you talked about this a bit beforehand, and I like to. So I'm getting this from Newsmax. This was released today at 1 p.m. And today, I mean Monday. We filmed this on Monday. It'll come out tomorrow. The Republican Party. Now, get this. As of October 30th, has $9.1 million ready for the election. At this point in 2016, they had 20 million, and in 2020, by this point, they had 61 million for Trump's reelection. And of course, she's blaming the donors right now. She is saying that, well, our donors right now are focusing on individuals, and when we have one candidate, they'll all join together and push the Republican Party, and there will be a red wave the size of Texas hit the country.
Hearing that for so long.
We've been hearing that forever. I think we've been hearing that since 2016.
Yeah.
It blows my mind how bad a party can be that has so much support.
Yeah. Like,
The
we are more than 50% of the electorate. I mean, we don't go out and vote as much. Every Democrat votes. Every single one of them. But, well, maybe not literally every single one. That doesn't happen. But
one's from 1922.
Yeah. But it's all on Ronna McDaniel to me. She's literally part of the Romney train still. We got Mitt Romney out. Dick Cheney's gone, Liz Cheney's gone. But she's kind of that last piece, other than the rhinos that are in office in Congress, that has kept the Republican Party literally back. They want to stay in the Bush years. And you're not going to win an election in 2024 and you want another Bush candidate. So.
Nope. And I mean, this is a thing that the Republican Party is facing countrywide and state level, county level. I mean, every level you can look at almost. Now, county level, local level is a bit different beast. It varies so differently on where you are at. But state, Mississippi, for example. I said it once and I'll say it again. We should be leading the conservative example in this country. It should not be Florida. It should not be Texas. I love those states. They're doing a great job with it. But we should be leading the charge. We're the reddest state. We have one of the strongest conservative. We're the conservative stronghold. But our conservative party here fails to call out rhinos. And for those who don't know, rhinos are fake Republicans that are just in it for either the money, the fame, or whatever. They barely do anything conservative with their principles, with their voting. And our party fails to call these people out. We just let them run for re-election. Let them get the incumbent vote. Never say a word. I saw it in 2019 in Mississippi. I saw it this year in Mississippi. Yeah. I've seen it in Senate races, House races, and statewide races. It blows my mind that the state doesn't do anything. And it starts at the top as well there. Why hasn't the National Republican Party stepped in and been like, hey, y'all ain't making sure your candidates stay in line with what our party is supposed to believe in?
Yeah.
And I would even say national, it's worse.
And they probably are. Because, I don't know how much money the Mississippi RNC has, but, you don't really have to spend nearly as much money in Mississippi to win office as you do nationally, obviously. But $9 million a year out, less than a year out from a presidential election, horrible. I mean,
That shows you the state of this party in a nutshell.
yeah. Yeah.
If
I mean,
there was a
I thought with
third
Trump,
party, yeah, if there was a third party, I think more conservatives would vote for that third party right now than the Republicans. That's how much faith true conservatives have lost in this party, and it shows in the numbers. Yes, most candidate people are right now, they can support their own candidate. Let's say we believe her right now without doing any research that almost every conservative it's going 100% on their candidate, and that's all their vote. That's all they're donating to. That's all they want to see. They win. They have the tunnel vision on this guy. Say that's true. Okay, it's true. Well, what's going to happen after this when Trump gets it? Because Trump's in the lead right now. I don't think anybody can deny Trump is going to get this. They're going to have to pull some underhanded tactic to keep Trump, and they're trying with the trials. You know, will the Republican Party get any money, or is everybody still going to be supporting their guy through Trump's private campaign?
Yeah.
I don't personally see people trusting the Republican Party with their money this term cycle. They've had it. They've obviously seen the Republican Party push their candidate in these debates. I'm not going to say who she is, but I think you just got a broad idea. They don't like the strong conservative picks. They're not listening to the people. I said it when I first started the show. I'm a Jeffersonian, and I say that because I want to distance myself as far from the Republican. You cannot see this, people who are watching or listening via podcast, but I'm doing air quotes here. Conservative values. They're not. I am a true conservative, and I don't trust the Republican Party with my money. If I had the money to donate, I would be donating it to my campaign, the person, because I believe in that person. You know, it sucks that our party is not saying, well, you know, obviously, I think we riled some feathers with our party. You know, they're not trying to do damage control. They're trying to shift the blame. And right now, they're not really blaming anyone. They're just saying, well, our donors are going to donate to us in time. Well, by this time last election, you already had 61 million.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, what, 20% of what you had last year.
Yeah, and even if we go lower to 21 million, which they had in 2016, again, you had nearly double what you had last year at this point.
Yeah.
And you said it, the election is less than a year away. Ads are going to have to start being ran.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to start pushing our candidates to get that red wave that we all have been dreaming of. Heck, at this point, if it's just a conservative wave, that's what I care about more. True conservative wave. I've noticed a Republican red wave gives me a lot more rhinos than I want in my life.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I just don't know if they're ever going to decide that, hey, we got to stop blaming the actual voters and we need to do the work. Because like I was saying before this, was the RNC, you know, they get their paychecks, they're happy where they are. They don't actually try to raise money, to pick out good candidates, to primary other people. They don't do any of that. And then they hire people like me to go on the ground at the last minute, and they'll be like, you know, we need 50,000 doors. Can you manage a team for us? Sure. How long do I have? A week and a half. Really? 50,000 doors in a week and a half? I mean, they are never up to date with the game. They're always trying to play catch up at the last second. You can't beat a Democratic Party with $1 billion war chest like that. So.
No, and I'll give the Democrat Party this. They plan this like it is a war. They make sure every T is dotted. They have the money. They have the campaign. They have the walkers. They got feet on the ground. They're going to give it everything they have. And if they lose, it's like, well, we lost. And they're going to play the the media side of their empire
Yeah.
will play the why we lost card. But the planning side, they're already planning for the next election. They're already trying to figure out who their candidate's going to be.
Yeah.
We're sitting there and we don't do anything in that 4-year time period. Nothing.
Yeah, the Democrats are organized really well.
I know 2 people who in this election I would vote for. But the Republican candidate, I've not really heard much of her. They haven't tried to push her. They haven't tried to give us a reason to really vote for her. They haven't tried to tell her, hey, make some noise, make some splashes, get your name out there. You know, they haven't done anything with her. They've just kind of put her up last moment, and I'm kind of like, I feel bad for her. I haven't really listened to her politics. I haven't really dived into her much, but it sounds like she's getting in the crap end of the stick, man.
Yeah, she is, and that's because, well, one, they don't really know how to prop people up. They don't know how to run a campaign, and like, I don't know, we're just so behind the ball on money, and then we have no organization nationally, especially. So I don't know. We're gonna have to literally find out a way. I think you got to redo the RNC from the top down, pretty much, and you're gonna have to get younger people in that actually are driven to do the job, and then you might see our money coming back. You might see more independents voting Republican. I don't know. We have to do that by 2028, or else I don't know what's going to happen, but we won't have a Republican president.
I think you're 100% right. It's scary how Ronald Reagan said that we're always going to be fighting for freedom. It's a generational thing that every generation something's going to rise up, something's going to try to take it. And the fact is, me and you are in that generation right now where we're fighting to make sure it stays, because it's okay to have a different opinion. It's okay to have a liberal opinion. But when it gets to let's just destroy the country, that's when I'm going to have. Yeah, I'm going to have a problem. It's become so radical that Republicans aren't really Republicans anymore. They're moderates. They're in the middle because the left has went so far left. And some people are scared, like, well, let's go back to where we're supposed to be as a Republican Party. It's mind-blowing. It gets worse every time, I feel like, but we're kind of getting close to the end. Is there anything you want to say, kind of closing us out?
Yeah, so kind of on the same thing. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. It was about the RNC with the election and how far left they've gone in the Democratic Party. How are we not able to make up ground? Like I don't want to put this in a horrible way, but like the left wants us almost to turn into like Venezuela with the stuff that they're pushing, economically wise, like Green New Deal and like socialism, because a lot of them believe in socialism. But how has the left gone this far, and the Republicans literally cannot get it together, can't raise money, can't make a push? That just shows you how incompetent that our leadership is.
Yeah. It shows you everything they're about right then and there. They're not really about pushing policy. They're about making money. And if they can make money on a Democratic rule, that's what they're going to do. They don't care.
No.
It's so heartbreaking, because you'll see the true conservatives are the radicals, as left media will like to call them. No, they're standing up for what the party should truly be. They're not moderates. If you want to be a moderate, but tell everybody you're moderate. Don't tell everybody you're a hardcore conservative. You're not.
Right. Like, I've been called a fascist before because I said I was a constitutionalist. I mean, tell me how that works. I haven't figured it out yet.
I don't. That
was probably the funniest one that I've been told so far.
I was told I was the devil. This was by one of our.
Like that one too.
One of our peers at Ole Miss walked by that and told me that. She's like, "You're going to hell." I was like,
Wow.
oh, I noticed the lovely cross shirt you have on. Are you a Christian by any chance? I am. Huh.
Very Christian of you.
I was like, that's
A
very
guy that
Christian.
has a different belief.
Oh, I pulled out my cross right then and there. I was like, well, so am I. And I started
Yeah.
quoting Bible verses, and me and that person did not like each other that day.
I believe it.
But they full of hatred. Full of hatred.
Yeah, they are. That's like they're never happy.
No.
Can't imagine living like that.
I couldn't either. It blows my mind. But I want to thank you for coming on, Graves. I had a great discussion.
It
Next
was
time,
a lot of fun. I look
Yeah.
forward to do it again.
Yeah.
Hopefully next week.
I'm so happy you said that because I was like, oh, I scared the poor man off. But
I feel like
it's
we could go for so long that like it's gonna take like 4 or 5 episodes before we're like, all right, what do we talk about now?
Yeah, I do feel like that because I feel like we barely scratched the surface on the topics we even wanted to talk about today. Because there's so much to talk about with the Republican National Committee. There's so much we could talk about with them, and so much we can talk about just with the Republican Party in general right now. And these are two people that vote primarily for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And that just shows you how bad we are. But I do want to thank everybody for watching. I will ask that please share this out, everybody. Support us on Spreaker if you can. That's where we get most of our support from. But you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music and Audible, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. And, of course, on Thursdays, the video version of the episode goes up on YouTube, all under the Conservative Colonel podcast name. I want to thank Graves for coming on, and I'll see y'all next time when I see y'all. I hope everybody has a good day, and God bless.
God bless.